Is it, a little hot in here? I don't know, Zach. Maybe it just goes against me. I'm not a very hot take person. I even make fun of that when that sort of thing comes up, whether it's on the radio or a television talk show. That's usually the thing that ends up forcing me to change the channel, reaching up and hitting a different preset. So when it's time for us to talk about our hot takes for the Guardians, I feel like I struggle a little bit.
This is your chance. There's no repercussions. Does anyone remember what our hot takes were last year? How did we
I don't
fare?
even remember what our hot takes were last year. I try to flush them immediately as pun leaves my lips. I don't remember what I said. Yeah, we've been called on the carpet before for not having spicy enough takes. So maybe that has changed. Maybe we are going to be a little bit spicier this year. Not only will we have to talk you into it, our listeners into it, we might have to talk ourselves into our takes just so that they're spicy enough for the gallery.
It's not a lie if you believe it.
Well, do you want to lead us off today? Each of us have 5. We have not shared what they are, who they're about. There might be some crossover. I'm interested to see where we align and where we differ here.
So how do we want to, for anyone who might be new to this exercise, these are things we guarantee will happen. These are things we think will happen. How do we?
Yes. Yes. Or don't remember saying if they don't come close to happening.
Okay.
You take credit for the things you get right, and you Men in Black memory stick erase that from anyone's consciousness if you get it wrong.
Will Smith. Yeah, so we each have 5, correct? And I think you're right. I think there have been times in the past, like, there were a few that I remember of mine, and I think we hit the gamut. I remember saying one year, like, Juan Brito would be the second baseman by June. And looking back on that, it's, okay, was that a hot take? I'm trying to remember if it might have been 2 years ago, so maybe it was. I think I said last year Stephen Kwan would finish top 7, I think we said, in MVP. That's getting spicier. So we also have a rating system. And this year, I have all the wing sauces at our favorite spot, Easy Out in Lakewood. Do we have more to say about that place?
We do. Coming up.
And I'll just supply a wing sauce to each take. We'll see how hot it actually is. Got to familiarize myself with this menu. It's a little different. And I haven't tasted all of the sauces.
Yeah.
So
well, that might change in the coming days. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit.
All right, you want me to lead it off, though?
I do. I want you to lead us off.
All right. Something's going to happen for the first time in 36 years. How about that? Chase DeLauter, American League Rookie of the Year.
Wow.
First Cleveland player since Sandy Alomar Jr. in 1990. Hot take because it's so rare for this franchise. Hot take because is he healthy? Is he ever going to be healthy? But I was thinking about it, and so I guess this is where I explain myself to make it not as hot of a take. What is this exercise? Okay, so
I think you need to convince us.
You don't have to play 160 games to win Rookie of the Year. We see people come up all the time in May or June, and they win it with a really good 110 games. Things are a little bit different because you have players called up earlier or even on the opening day roster, and they play a full season. But I just don't see any evidence that he's not going to succeed. And so I simply need him to play enough. And if he plays 120 games with a 830 OPS and looks like a legit big leaguer, that's going to outweigh other rookies who might play 145 games with a 730 OPS. There's a good field, like in both leagues this year. There are some really intriguing Rookie of the Year candidates, but he's one of them. And this whole injury thing has been weird. I think they're simply just trying to protect the hell out of him and not let him make any tiny smidgen of soreness become worse in spring training. And he has said, I remember talking to him a couple days after like the lower leg tightness first flared up, and he's like, guys, if this was the regular season, I'd be playing. So I'm keeping that in my head and hoping that it doesn't become a thing where he plays every Tuesday and then sits until Friday during the regular season, because if he does that, there you go. Sandy Alomar, move over. You got company.
I actually want him, though, to listen to his body. And I know the idea being, if it were the regular season, I'd play through this pain. Okay, and I'm sure there's a threshold where I can play up to a certain point, but I think he needs to bump his up a little bit. I think he needs to be even more proactive than your typical player. And if that means that you lose some production on some days for the sake of making sure that he's there for the entire season, you need to do that. And having and I know there's some responsibility on the player, especially if they're playing well and the team is winning. You subconsciously look down the depth chart and say, well, I'm better than everybody. I gotta play. I want to play. I want to help this team win. But that's not up to Chase. That was up to the team to make sure that they were deep enough to prolong him for as much as possible and make sure that he's protected and the team is protected if he needs to sit. So, while I'm thankful that he says things like, if it were the regular season, I would be playing through this, don't just take that mindset into the season and not listen to what your body is telling you. That's the first thing. Second thing, yeah, I think the hotter take is just whether or not he's going to be on the field enough to accomplish this feat. Watching how they've handled him in spring, do you get the sense that I hate to say they take it for granted, but it kind of feels like they take for granted how talented he is as a hitter. So much so that if they want to take an extra day, they don't want his first game back after this little brief period off, traveling on the road to a night game. Anybody else, they'd be saying, well, we got to get this. It doesn't matter. Get him plate appearances, get him ready for the season. Then that's not the avenue they're taking. They feel like a small amount of plate appearances, that's going to be enough. They already showed us that in the postseason when it didn't matter. He didn't have this long...
We have not made a big enough deal of the fact that he had not played in an actual game in 3 months.
He did not have this long ramp up
in a year, and it was a playoff elimination game, and they're like, good luck, kid.
Yeah, part of it is
when
because...
do they ever put that much faith into any rookie?
Sure. Part of it is because they didn't feel like they had another great option at that point.
That's been the case for years. They haven't had a center fielder or a right fielder since Nap Lashaway.
But it's still like it tells us everything we need to know about him. Even in this spring training, they'll give him an extra day.
Don't hold that against me.
They're just telegraphing to us how much they believe in his offensive ability. A few at bats here and there, he'll be ready. He's ready right now. If it could just flash forward to the season with him, they would absolutely do it. So I can buy that being your first hot take. You want to give me a spice level on that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's crazy. I also, again, I've had one of these sauces so far. So could that be like barbecue?
Yeah.
There's 2 options now. You can go traditional barbecue or orange bourbon barbecue.
That sounds delicious. Yeah, I'll go barbecue.
I mean, there's competition here. Like Kevin McGonigal, I think, is the favorite with the Tigers. Trey Savage, who we saw light it up in the postseason for the Blue Jays. Samuel Basallo for the Orioles. Carter Jensen's going to get tons of opportunities in the middle of the Royals lineup. I don't know, Travis Bazzana?
No, I think barbecue's a good, safe start for us. Kind of ignites the taste buds a little bit, but doesn't leave you unable to taste what is still ahead on your plate.
Are you surprised it's been that long since they've had a Rookie of the Year winner?
Surprised? No. I mean, given the talent they've had.
I mean, there's 15
Francisco
teams in the
Lindor
American
coming
League.
up.
Yeah.
I guess when they've had those rookie performances, they've been at the wrong time. Cody Allen got some love for Rookie of the Year way back when, but he wasn't going to win it. I don't know. It's a weird. They've had a lot of great players that either didn't have the period of time that others didn't have the narrative that others had created for themselves. Like a reliever, when they come up, are not going to win the Rookie of the Year, most likely. A lot has to go right for that to happen.
Joe Charbonneau's spring also started with an injury in 1980, and he went on to win Rookie of the Year. Now, he was stabbed by a knife pen in Mexico.
Okay.
But if we see Chase DeLauter start ripping open beer bottles with his eye socket, then I think he's got a good chance.
Okay, well, let's stick with the rookies, and my first hot take is going to be that the most impactful rookie in 2026, and I'm thinking largely in terms of WAR here, is not going to be Chase DeLauter. It's going to be Travis Bazzana. And I think this is multi-layered here. It's not just because of talent. I think it is protection. I think some of it is whether it's DeLauter DHing some days or not playing the more premium defensive position, that could eat against him. So playing time, positioning, all those sorts of things matter. Bazzana playing more middle infield position and maybe proving why he should come up sooner. I try to think of what is the game total? Maybe we can arrive at this right now. What's the game total that would really kind of surprise you for Bazzana playing in the majors?
20.
20 games would surprise you if he played 20 games?
I think he's going to play 120. That's my point.
Okay. I was trying to think of the higher end of that.
Look, there are so many questions about, okay, how do you get, a big topic of conversation. I'm sure we'll touch on this as the week goes on. But like Nolan Jones doesn't fit, right? Because you've got DeLauter and you've got Valera, and people want to see Kafis, and you want to see Angel Martinez has had a great spring. Stuart Fairchild on the other side of the world is like the star of the WBC. And it's making me say, okay, well, like, how do you get all these guys opportunities? And you might have to send Kafis to AAA, and he's got to figure out, someone's going to have to get hurt. And then I look at the middle infield, and I'm like, why can't any of these people play those positions, right?
Wide open.
There's nobody who is standing in Bazzana's way. We finally will get to choose between Rocchio and Arias. It's the race that nobody wants to win. And one of them can just become the shortstop. And so I've heard people
throw having solid springs, by the way.
I've heard people throw out on various shows around town lately, oh, you'll see Bazzana in August or the All-Star break, or if he's hitting in AAA, there is nothing standing in his way. Once you get past, you got to manipulate the surface time a little bit. So get through the first couple weeks of the season, and they'll probably want him to just be going well for
work on his leads
a little while at AAA, just because he doesn't have at bats. But
hey, I
again,
buy that.
like once that happens, what did I say? Did I say May 8th was my prediction? Like once that happens, once he just gets a little bit of just reps under his belt, there's literally What do you, Arias and Rocchio going to both be hitting 320 for the first month of the season?
Doubtful.
Yeah.
Even so, if Bazzana's not going to cover off the ball, his impact offensively is going to be more than probably what Arias or Rocchio are doing at the major league level, and at that point there's going to be nothing standing in his way clearly. Yeah, this wasn't an argument of whether or not he should start the year on the team. I'm totally okay with him starting at AAA. I think that makes a ton of sense here. Getting his feet underneath him, getting into some solid habits to begin the year. I buy all of that. As far as what the game total could be, easily 100. I could see 100 for him. Very easy. And I thought maybe 120? 120? Could you see a scenario where you could get to 120 games? If he does that, then based on position and maybe holding DeLauter out of some games strategically, and like I said, DHing some, he's going to take a penalty for that in terms of WAR. DeLauter would have the better pure offensive rate numbers, but Bazzana could base just on plugging in there and posting every single day at second base, and as long as he's okay there, I could see a scenario where Bazzana actually posts a little bit more WAR than DeLauter does.
Yeah, I think DeLauter's numbers overall will look sexier for a Rookie of the Year race, and I think Bazzana. I mean, the bottom line here is, my God, if both stay healthy, what a jolt to a lineup that needs it.
Where's the spice level on
I don't
Bazzana
think that's
being
that
more
spicy.
impactful over the entire season, more war-centric than DeLauter?
House teriyaki with toasted sesame seeds and scallions.
God, that sounds delicious. Even at when is this? At 8:59 in the morning. That sounds good.
All right. Number 2 for me. Bo Naylor. I know you have one too, I'm sure. So originally
I just don't want yours to be spicier than mine.
I was going to say he hits 25 home runs. And then I kept thinking about it, and I kept thinking, their original plan was David Fry would catch a little bit, play first base probably against all lefties, and maybe eventually, he could DH some, he could maybe play right field a little bit. And Rhys Hoskins' arrival changes the calculus with him, I think, because there's just there are fewer reps at first base and DH. And so that's why I keep thinking like they need Fry to be able to play right field. That would help this roster a lot. But also, does he catch a little more even? I just don't know how many at-bats Bo Naylor is going to get. I don't know if he's going to get enough to get to 25 home runs. But I think he's going to be a better hitter. Stephen Vogt, one of the first days of spring, said he's going to have a breakout season. So I decided let's put on the nerd glasses and let's go WRC plus. And then I'm thinking, okay, what's a hot enough take that is maybe realistic here? And if I say, oh, he's going to be an average hitter, like that actually might be a hot take, but that's not good enough for this exercise.
And some projections see him getting there. So
correct. So he's somewhere between 90 and 100 on all the projection systems. So the last 2 years, WRC Plus has been 74 and 85. And if you like batting average and RBIs and this stuff bores you, just know that's way below league average. That's not a good hitter. I'm going to say 110. I'm going to say Bo Naylor has a 110 WRC plus. He's 10% better than a league average hitter. And that's a guy you want. I mean, last season, I think that would have ranked second on the team. So that's a dude you would love hitting in the middle of your order. I don't know how many home runs that translates to. I don't know what the surface level numbers are because of playing time, but maybe he also earns more playing time by posting a 110 WRC plus.
From an 85 to a 110, that's like adding an all-star hitter.
Yeah.
Out of that one spot. It's a big swing. That's more than just an F into a C. That's an F. That's more like a D minus into a B plus. That's pretty good out of that position. Certainly we would take that. You got a spice level? What are you thinking for that? Or do you want to hear mine first and then assign spice levels to
Go
both?
ahead.
Okay, well, I also had a Bo Naylor one. I knew you would have one as well because we've talked a lot about him this spring and even through the offseason. We looked at his season last year. It just didn't make a lot of sense considering he made some changes that you would want a hitter to make below the surface. It didn't translate to pure offensive production. But if you maintain that in addition to getting better and maybe changing some adjustments in your launch angle or what pitches you're attacking or however you get there, there's a better version of himself within there. So I was thinking, too, like, do I want to say he's an all-star? No, I don't think he's going to get to that level. I don't think he can beat it.
That actually crossed my mind, though, just because there just aren't that many great catchers.
Well, Raleigh and Kirk, it'd be tough to unseat those two offensive.
Don't they carry a third a lot of the time? And
maybe. I thought that was going a little too far. So here's what I arrived at. The best war catcher in the American League Central will come from the Guardians. It will be Bo Naylor beating out Dylan Dingler, beating out Kyle Teal. Salvador Perez has a pretty good projection, but every year he gets older.
I think you're going to see a lot of Carter Jensen, though, and you'll see Salvia.
So I think, yeah. So that'll complicate things, but
wait, so your hot take is that he'll have the best WAR among all these?
He will be the best catcher in the American League Central. And Dylan Dingler, that guy's getting tons of love. Kyle Teal is getting tons of love, and I think Bo Naylor will emerge as the best of the bunch in this season. yeah, playing time will be interesting. I'm curious how they handle David Fry and where he goes. Can't you find, the way I was thinking about it, can't you find one day of the week where, yeah, he slides in behind the catcher against the lefty? Second day where you're facing a lefty, maybe that's the day where Manzardo sits. So you take one of the days, instead of making it every single lefty, Manzardo sits one day of the week. And then if a third lefty comes out, maybe that's the day where you find some DH at-bats. You find the right field at-bats. So David Fry plays a different position every single time he plays that week. But I don't think it needs to be a strict platoon. Naylor only plays against only righties. Now, if he's just flat out terrible
WRC
and
plus
David,
projection.
like as the season unfolds, if David Fry's crushing the lefties, Bo Naylor can't sniff a lefty, sure, you adjust off of it. But I think there are ways that if Naylor's swinging the bat, you keep his bat in the lineup a little bit more than just the typical platoon. And so this is, I think it's possible.
The days Hedges catches, you want Fry at a position, not at DH, because you want the flexibility of him being able to go to catcher maybe later in the game or whatnot. Look, there's some good young catching in the American League Central. You know, Jensen is one of the best. If he's still a prospect, I know he played some last year. I believe Keith Law has him really high in his top prospects list. And Dingler's good. Kyle Teal, good hitter. You know, Ryan Jeffers with the Twins is pretty good. But your hot take is that he's going to have the highest WAR of like 5 candidates? Come on.
Those are not just 5 candidates. Some really good catching talent is in this division. And for Bo Naylor to emerge as the best among them, I think is a pretty strong take.
But to do that, would he need a 110 WRC plus? Or what if he's just incredible behind the plate?
I don't think that gets him there in WAR. That'll get you probably to the total he had when he first arrived, like that 2.5, with not being a total 0 offensively. To get to the 4 range, he's probably going to have to accomplish what you said and be very, very good defensively and get the playing time.
His first season in the majors, and it wasn't even a full season, but 67 games, he had 2.1 WAR. And in the last 2 years, it's been 1.6 and 1.5. So, you know, that 67 game sample, he had a 123 WRC plus. I don't know if he's ever going to do that again. But you could see there is a path to 3.5. I don't know. Whose is hotter? Mine? Because I'm putting a specific offensive label on it, and you're saying he's going to be better than these 4 catchers who aren't even all-star caliber?
See, I think he can put up a 110 and not have the best WAR of anybody in the division. So I think it's tougher to do what I'm saying.
Okay. I think both of them are kind of... I think we're looking at like... I think I used all the non-spicy ones. Cajun dry rub? Would that be spicy?
Once again, it sounds delicious.
Yeah.
God, I need to try this. Need to eat these things before I know.
I had the Szechuan lemon pepper dry rub, and it's not spicy, but it's so flavorful. I don't know if that's this.
I think we have talked ourselves so much into him that we're neglecting how really impossible that is compared to what he's been providing over those last 2 years in the majors.
Yeah, there's also a very realistic possibility that he's just like an 80 WRC guy and
solid defense.
But also that we're clamoring for Cooper Ingle by June.
Yeah.
Everything's on the table there. All right, we need something spicy.
All right, give me something spicy.
All right. Pitching the 8th inning by September won't be Hunter Gaddis or Sean Armstrong.
Because Armstrong will be in the 9th. Oh my gosh, that is a crazy take.
Won't be Daniel Espino, as much as that was tempting. No, it'll be a guy who you're not even thinking of, who you won't be thinking of in April, who you didn't think of at all last year. His name is Andrew Walters. That's your setup man late in the season.
I see it. I see
don't
that
have
scenario.
Really? There's a lot of guys to get through before he'd have the chance.
You
I don't
act
have
like
a ton
that's that's not a hard thing for bullpens to do. Cade Smith, how quickly did he elevate himself to being that guy in his first season?
It took about 12 hours, not even 8 hours from the time he made the roster to, or maybe it was game two of the season when he just carved through the Athletics, 2 innings, 5 strikeouts.
Yeah. Don't oversell how quickly you arrive at your roles in that bullpen.
Yeah, this is going to be a process. There's a lot of
Eric Zabrowski is quickly taking big outs. Like it just
Walters
happens.
Was pitching in the playoffs the month after he got called up in 24. I just think he's a guy we've forgotten, and even in spring training, because he's not pitching in games yet, we've all become infatuated with Espino, and Peyton Pallette has looked really good. The stuff's great. And just thinking, Franco Aleman has had some moments, and just thinking, we've talked about how we think there will be turnover in the bullpen and for the better. That this group could be like, it's good and it's deep now, but the stuff is going to get filthy as the season goes on and some of these other people get involved. He's going to get a later start, and I just think middle of the season he just works his way in, and the stuff's going to be electric enough to for him to be pitching in higher and higher leverage.
I totally buy that scenario. It makes a lot of sense. In fact, I was thinking about the bullpen. If there's anybody I wanted to really get hot takey about in there, his name came to my mind. But I had some inklings that you might go that direction, so I stayed away from it. The one that, this is not my hot take, but I was thinking more about it. My hot take is that Cade Smith should just stay in the 9th inning.
And he's going to.
And this is like my honorable mention here. He should stay in the 9th. I try to talk myself into why it should be Armstrong in the 9th or Gaddis in the 9th if he's completely healthy, and or somebody else, because then you get Cade Smith looming all these different places. And I think in the playoffs that you're still thinking about where's the most critical point in the game, but you're thinking about how do I stretch him from the 8th to the 9th all the way through. He's still the back end guy, but it's more what outs does he take in the innings leading up to it. But I think there's an ability there to better protect him, and maybe protect him from yourself and wanting to deploy him in all these different situations. But it's better for his arm over the length of the full season if you want him to maintain his level of stuff all the way through, if you're not overextending and you're not thrusting him into different times during the day, and his arm care routine can be based around when he knows he's going to pitch, and it's a little bit more predictable. So for 162, there's just some benefit from him staying in the 9th inning. Maybe that leads to a few hiccups trying to get to him. Maybe that's true, but I think you have to live with that a little bit if your goal is to make sure that the arm is operating at premium robot capacity by the time you get to the end of the season. So that's not a hot take, but it is what as I was working my way through the bullpen.
So I wanted to include a Cade Smith hot take, and then last week on our Patreon show, go join our Patreon. We will give you more reasons to join our Patreon later in the show today. But we did a mailbag last week with questions submitted from those in our Patreon super tier. Turned out it was like mostly players on the team who submitted questions.
Allegedly.
And we had a Cade Smith topic in there, and someone close to Cade Smith asked, what would be a surprising thing he could accomplish? Or was that something like that? The way the question was framed? And you said that he wouldn't be good. Like, there was nothing we could have said about Cade Smith's 2026 season that would be shocking. And so once we said that, it's like, okay, well, what even would be a hot take with him, right?
Yeah.
I think I threw out, like, what if he gets Cy Young votes? But, like, we saw that with Clase a couple of years ago.
Getting votes,
it's possible. That would be a hot take, but, he's struck out 100-plus batters each of his first 2 years. He's led the league in reliever war each of his first 2 years. Like, there's not a ton here that he could do. A sub 1 ERA, like that wouldn't be if his ERA was 0.85, like are you going to be shocked? No. Be pleasantly surprised. There's not much he can do that would be blow me away. I think that just shows how accomplished he is through 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's just not a good candidate for a Hot Takes episode.
Yeah, I struggle. I don't think he's going to win a Cy Young. That would be shocking to do that, given the starting pitching talent in the American League. It's going to be very, very difficult. But could I see him getting some votes in the bottom of some ballots? Sure, I could see that. But
and the way to do that would be to be the best closer in the American League, and I don't think that's
certainly possible.
Take.
That's certainly possible. So yeah, I stayed away from anything Cade Smith related here. So my actual next hot take, speaking of votes, is that Stephen Vogt will be the manager of the year. No, I'm kidding.
It's all set up for him to win for a 3rd straight year.
Everyone's once again saying they all have a shot. So what would the win total have to be? Just something incredible? If they win 100 games?
120.
I don't think he needs to do that.
But
I think if he legitimately got to 100, it'd be tough to vote against him. And at that point, if he's won 3 in a row, like you got to go for a 4th at that point.
Does the front office dismantles the roster even more just to make it harder for him?
Let's stick with the bullpen in relation to the starting pitching. Last year, they finished 3rd in ERA among all relief cores. And the starting pitching, it actually surprised me. I didn't realize this. The starters last year, I had in my mind that they were more middle of the pack, but in terms of ERA, they finished 10th. And a lot of that is due to how they finished the year. Yeah. So my hot take is that I actually think in terms of where they finish among their peers, the starters are going to finish ahead of the bullpen. I don't think we're giving them adequate credit. And the reason why people don't give the starters the credit, I think it's because they don't have that one standout, really spectacular guy. Gavin Williams was great last year, but even in doing that, people are poking holes. We've done it too. We're poking holes in the season. Maybe it wasn't quite that good. What is going to be their superpower is what I think they hope their superpower is. Obviously, you have to stay relatively healthy, but their superpower is they never have a day where somebody goes to take the hill and you're like, well, crap. This guy's on the bump. Just going to have to suffer through it. And every time you give somebody the ball to take the ball, they're going to give you a good chance to win. And so the superpower is just the consistently good starting pitching. You never have a day where somebody's so terrible that it eats into the production of the guy at the top of the rotation. So overall, while they don't have any one guy that's absolutely spectacular, probably going to win the Cy Young that year, they're just always, every single night, having a good chance to win. And I think through that, they can get into the top 5 in terms of ERA. Given where they're at, yeah, top 5 in terms of ERA. And I don't think that's that hot of a take, considering last year their ERA was 3.86 as a staff, starting pitching, finishing 10th. The 5th place was the Dodgers at 3.69. They can't go from 3.86 to 3.69. Excuse me. I think it's possible that they could absolutely do that, given even last year they weren't at their best until September. There were plenty of instances early in the year where they didn't have great starting pitching. So I think they can make that jump to about the top 5, and I think they'll finish a little bit ahead of where the bullpen does. I think the bullpen will still be very good, but maybe they finish 5th, 6th, 7th, somewhere in that range. And so the starting pitching actually kind of outdoes the bullpen. So where they land among their peers.
So you're saying they will have a top 5 rotation, a good bullpen. Bo Naylor will be a behemoth. DeLauter's going to have a good year, but Bazzana's going to be even better.
Yeah.
So then Vogt will win Manager of the Year based on what you've got. Okay. Yeah, that's I at first I didn't know where you were going with this, and I was like,
I know that one was kind of confusing.
And then you say top 5, and I'm like, okay, wow. Well, yeah, that's probably black garlic parmesan. That's wow. Yeah, that's solid. I have one that's tied to this. I don't know about ERA and success of the group or anything, but how about Gavin Williams becoming Cleveland's first 200 strikeout pitcher since Shane Bieber in 2019? And you might think, okay, that wasn't that long ago. First of all, 7 years since 2019. That And that was pre-pandemic. That feels like half century ago. Also, rarer than you think. Yeah, they had 11 people strike out 200 batters or more between 2014 and 2019. That was just the height of the pitching factory's excellence, right? You had Kluber did it 5 times, Carrasco 3, Bauer, Clevenger, and Bieber once each.
That combined with the environment in baseball that
Correct.
was sort of desensitized to strikeouts at the moment.
But before that, you'd have to go back to 2000, Bartolo Colon. Before Bartolo, 1976, Dennis Eckersley. So, yeah, this happened a ton in a short period, but by and large, has not happened much. And I think Gavin Williams certainly has the stuff. I think he has the build to withstand enough innings to pile up enough strikeouts. So I don't know. I'm struggling to figure out like exactly what he's going to be. You know, we saw really good things for the last 4 months last season, but there are still rungs of the ladder for him to climb, to be more efficient, to throw more strikes, to pitch deeper into games. But I know he's got pure stuff that can equal strikeouts, and so give me 200 plus.
It helped him so much that he found a mix that he could get into the zone with last year. Remember, early on he was having flashes, but he couldn't find that consistent ability to throw strikes when he needed it, got behind in the count. And then when he figured out, okay, I'm going to go with my fastball a little bit less, I'm going to go with my cutter, and that kind of became a primary pitch for him a little bit, and he figured out how to get that in the zone, and then everything sort of worked off of that. And so we saw a guy that was not only maybe coming into his own in terms of what does my stuff look like, but what is the great combination for that. And I don't think that was a finished product last year, so that's exciting.
And to me, it's not even, it's obviously, again, I keep stressing the strikeout stuff, but it's the innings. You know, he made 31 starts last year. I know it was important for him to get through a full season healthy after the way the previous season went. Still only went 167 innings. He's got to pitch deeper into games, which sometimes means sacrificing, chasing the strikeout, but I think that's part of what worked so well for him down the stretch is he didn't nibble trying to get guys to chase to get that third strike. He attacked. And so to me, it's not even the strikeout rate because he's pretty consistently through 3 years been a guy who's been just a tick over 1 per inning. But do that and actually pitch 190 innings, and then this will be easy.
I would imagine your inning total is going to increase that last month of the season, too, if you're not going with a 6-man rotation. So you probably lost a few innings off the total. Not a ton, but a few. Boy, this team is going to be great if that happens, and my next one also happens, because the best starting pitcher won't be Gavin Williams. It'll be Tanner Bibee. And I think he's an all-star and finishes top 5 in the Cy Young.
Yeah, I thought about this too.
Yeah, I think it's an easy call to make. I mean, you've pointed to the stats down the stretch for him, which were just absolutely incredible in the month of September. Final month of the season, had a 1.30 ERA. 1.30 ERA, and that's following the timeline of the season is a little bit wild. First month of the season, 4.36, and then in May settled down 3.30, 3.98 in June. Okay, I can live with that. And then July was terrible, 6.15. August, terrible, 6.15. And I'm always encouraged, we talk about this a lot, by a guy that goes through the worst of the worst and then finds a way to be the best of the best. If you can prove to me that you can overcome that awful, awful stretch and be even better because of it, it makes me really excited. Now, I'm not suggesting like the guy we saw in September is actually who he is and he's a sub-2 ERA. Probably not. But I think he took a lot. I think there were a lot of important lessons learned from him last year. And on top of that, as we've covered extensively, I think he dealt with some bad luck too. I don't think the numbers below the surface were really that was not indicative of the way that it was actually happening on the surface, and that probably aided him too. The fact that you think you are pitching better and you're not getting the results, and that just snowballs for you, and you are desperately wanting to be better, and it's not leading to the results, and then you try even harder, just like Zach on the golf course, and it's not going the way that he wants because he's trying really hard. In September, that dude something clicked for him. And
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what those lessons he takes away from September and carries forward. And by the way, I think we also need to give him some credit. He's been very good in postseason play too.
Mm-hmm.
His starts. He's got a 3.10 ERA so far in 5 career postseason starts. So it's not like he gets through the season and he's fine, and then he gets bombed in the playoffs. He had the one rough start at Yankee Stadium. Other than that, he's been really pretty good on the bump in the playoffs. So I have a lot of confidence in him coming back and being better overall. And I think it's going to lead to him having an even better season, and as I said, finishing top 5 in the Cy Young.
He's just a guy you trust. He might not have the flashiest stuff or the best numbers during the season, but there's something, I just trust him. I just feel like when I need a good start, he's going to deliver more often than not. I think if you look back at his starts, and this is simply just from quick glance at his game logs, but pretty simple delineation here between his good starts having 0 or 1 walk and his rough starts having 3, 4, and down the stretch last season, thought his command got better. He stopped walking guys, and it also just correlates with what he said about, talking to Joey Cantillo and saying, throw more FU fastballs and just attack and just act like they can't touch you if you execute your pitch, and getting in that mindset after months of like, is this working? Is this not working? Do I need to tweak this and this? It's hard during a season. You don't get a chance to step back and evaluate and get a different perspective on things. You do that in the off season. And that's why everybody comes to spring training refreshed and energized and feeling like they have everything figured out and they know how to fix what went wrong the previous year. But you can't do that in July when you've made 20 starts and you've got 12 left, and it's like I would love to make some major changes and take the time to figure out what's wrong, but I have to pitch again in 3 days. So that's why it is encouraging when you have a stretch like he had to end last season, because it's really hard to just pull that out of thin air. And maybe he needed to let off some steam, as he did in late August during that game that wasn't going well. And who knows? But he's a guy who has always felt like he's going to pitch better than maybe his pure stuff would suggest he will, whether that's just because he doesn't back down. He's all the things that he gets lauded for, his competitiveness and being a bulldog out there, and how often every single time Stephen Vogt comes out to make a pitching change, you see the pain in his eyes and on his face because he doesn't want to come out. Like, he's got those whatever the stats say and the metrics say, they matter the most. But there is that grit and that intangible quality that I think helps him, and we have evidence that it works. So he's just a guy that I think I would bet on year after year, as long as he's healthy. And I think he said it when we talked in spring training, that ending on that note, he even said, he's like, if I had an awesome April and then pitched the way I did for most of the season the rest of the year and ended on that note, he wouldn't have had peace of mind in the offseason and he wouldn't be in a good place this spring. But because that was flipped, because he felt like he figured things out and he goes into the offseason on such a high note, that changes everything. So yeah, that's a good hot take by you. And that's pretty spicy. Did I assign something yet?
Not yet.
Yeah.
Not
How
yet.
about house honey mustard with fried shallots and chives?
I'm going to need some potato twists at the end of this to wash it all down. All right, before we get into our final hot takes, each have one left, let's explain what's happening on April 2nd. If you are part of our Patreon, you already understand. We've told you about this last week, and you guys are going to get the first opportunity to get in on our party that's coming up. So the day before the home opener, Zach and I have been trying to work through an idea of how we get together with our listeners. And we finally arrived at, let's do some sort of get-together, let's do a party. That's what we're going to do at Easy Out in Lakewood, April 2nd. Mark it on the calendar now. Coming up hopefully later this week, we're going to have an actual event link that we're going to put on our Patreon. It'll be the first people. It's first come, first served. We're going to drop it in there, and if we fill up based just on that, that's all. That's what we're going to do. We're doing it this way because we are renting out the restaurant for the allotted time. It's probably going to be about 6 to 8 on April 2nd, and we've got to pay for the staff. We've got to pay for the space. We're basically closing this place down, so there is going to be an event fee that reserves your spot, and then they're planning on giving you some percentage of that, a large percentage of that, back to you in terms of getting drinks and food.
Yeah, your ticket's gonna almost all go to your consumption of the delicious wing flavors. A small percentage of it is paying for the staff, essentially. We're not making anything off of this. This is just a thank you to our supporters and our listeners. That'll drop at Patreon. If you want to ensure that, well, I can't even guarantee that you get in there, but if you want your first shot at it, you got to get to the Patreon and support us over there. You get the additional episode. You get access to the Discord. You get more of us.
If that's what you really want.
Yeah.
But that'll be coming hopefully later this week. So if you're already a Patreon supporter, just keep an eye on it. Again, this is limited space. This is a restaurant. We can only let so many people in. So at some point, we're going to be out of tickets. And maybe we'll do this again in the future, and we'll open it up to some new people. But keep an eye on that. That's coming up later this week. April 2nd, 6 to 8, Lakewood, easy out. I think that's all the details. Anything else
what
I leave out?
What are we calling it?
Still don't know.
Selby Fest?
It's the best we got, yeah.
Godfest?
It's still not going to work. Can't make that work.
Easter week.
Can't make that work. All right, final hot takes from each of us.
So, this was a journey. And I still have 2 options written down, and I'm going to decide which one I pick on the fly, mid-sentence. It started with Joey Cantillo, and originally it was Joey Cantillo's going to be an all-star. And then I was thinking, I've already got Gavin Williams on here. I was tempted to do something with Tanner Bibee. I don't know. I wanted something powerful. And so I scrapped Cantillo. I still believe in him. The spring results haven't been great, but those are spring results, and I don't know. Who cares? We were infatuated by Gavin Williams last spring. He was mowing everybody down. We thought, I think he was in our hot takes episode, and we said he's going to be an all-star and a Cy Young vote getter and all this stuff. And then for the first 6 weeks of the season, he looked horrible. So I don't know. Maybe Cantillo will end up being an all-star, and I'd look both prophetic and stupid. But I wanted to go in a different direction. I wanted something grander. And then I thought, okay, do I just go with the old reliable Zach trick where, all right, who's that slugger on the team that could hit 40 home runs? The first guy to do it since Travis Hafner. Kyle Manzardo, come on down. But I was thinking, no, is he going to play every day against lefties? And also, he might just be a more complete hitter. I don't know. He's a guy who should walk more and hit a bunch of doubles. So 40 seems high. So I said, you know what? Screw it. Give me the hot buffalo sauce with carrots, celery, chives. Let's just do it. He's been waiting for this for years. I tried to help him in 2020 because I thought he deserved it, but he got screwed by the voters who were just in love with Jose Abreu's RBI total in a 60-game season. Aaron Judge, we have voter fatigue, don't we? Cal Raleigh, you're not hitting 60 home runs again. Bobby Witt, you are my chief concern here. But I am going to say Jose Ramirez, wearing the belt with a million Jose Ramirez faces on it, wins his first American League Most Valuable Player award. The first Cleveland MVP winner since Al freaking Rosen in 1953, I believe.
It'd be nice to not have to mention him in the same breath as Albert Bell, as guys that should have won MVP that had it stolen away from them. They picked the wrong guy. I think we're getting to the point in his career where that would be spicy. I mean, given what Judge is doing, given the season Raleigh just had, and if Raleigh's even remotely as good, I think there's going to be some people that want to subconsciously do a make good on his behalf if Aaron Judge is not playing as much or doesn't have as spectacular of a season. Bobby Witt is a huge, huge hurdle to clear as well. See, I think given where Jose is at in his career, to say that this would be the year, that is definitely a hot take on your part.
It is. I'm banking on no decline, but I'm also
no decline and some better, just
he looks
inexplicably
stronger.
better luck.
He looks like he's in really good shape. I just think the narratives are in his favor. Narratives matter in this. I don't think Cal Raleigh is. If he couldn't win it last year, I don't. And he didn't win it last year because Judge was so good. Judge also, he could always get injured. I think they're going to grow tired of voting for him. I think that already existed last season.
That tells you how good he was.
Yeah,
you couldn't ignore it, even if you wanted to.
I think you're just waiting for there to not be some superhuman candidate. And so it's more banking on Judge being a little more pedestrian or maybe getting injured and Cal Raleigh not hitting 60 home runs. And I think those things, the Raleigh thing, I think is not really a concern. Judge is always going to be a concern, but I think the reason it's a hot take is I'm saying I think Jose can hit. I think he can hit 35 home runs still. And I just think people appreciate him more. We've gotten so tired collectively, nationally, of the is he underrated conversation to the point where I worry people are going to start thinking he's overrated. But I think people recognize what he's capable of. I think we've come a long way where a season like he had last year that is so well-rounded. Remember, too, his WAR was hurt because he was dreadful defensively for like a month. It was dragging him down. And then he played really good defense and was, as he always
full
is,
Jordan. And I took that personally.
A Gold Glove finalist. If he's still good defensively, I know he's going to DH once every 10 days or whatever. But there's still the ability to have that 6.5, 7 win season. And maybe it's just a year where there's not that guy who's got 9.5 WAR.
I think there's going to need to be some supernatural element here of the baseball gods say this is the year for you, and even if your production on the surface said you should have been like a 150, 160 WRC plus in like the most spectacular season he could ever imagine, they bump it up by 10. Based on he had some more base hits fall, he had some bloopers fall in, just stuff that helped elevate the overall total.
Would it be crazy if he hit 300, which he hasn't done since 2017, but doesn't he have the profile of someone who should? And maybe he draws more walks because he's a little more patient this year because he actually has competent people around him in the lineup like DeLauter and Valera and Manzardo.
And maybe a few more. Like if this guy could drive in the run totals that he's had,
would it be
and if
crazy
he has a better surrounding cast?
I think the hottest take here is that he could hit 40 home runs because he's never done that. Tim Stebbins and I were talking to him a couple weeks ago, and he said, I was telling him, remember one of the first spring training games, he hit a ball to right field, and it was a home run. It hit above the yellow line. The ump missed it. It bounced back into play. They gave him a double. Vogt came out to argue, but there's no replay. And so his next at bat, again, Michael Jordan, I took that personally. He hits a home run to right field. The fans, and this is like a lazy Monday afternoon in Goodyear, Arizona, so there aren't a lot, and you can hear every word that every fan is saying in the stands, and there were a couple fans just relentless on the umpire. It was great. But I said to him later, I was like, I was sitting, at the time, my family was there, I was sitting with them in the stands that inning. And I was like, we were sitting down the right field line, your ball was absolutely a home run. He's like, oh, I know. He said, then that gives me 3 home runs this spring. And he said, the last time I had 3 home runs, I hit 39. So just watch out. And it's like, okay. And I said, so are you going to go 40-40? And he gives that nod. And so I don't know. What if, who knows? The guy's 33 years old. Anything the fact that he can still put up these consistent seasons is incredible. Do I actually think he's going to win MVP? No. But for the sake of argument, like, he has the ability to hit 300. He has the ability to hit 35 to 40 home runs. We know he could hit 40 doubles. He's stolen 41 and 44 bases the last 2 years. He can do a lot of things that if you put them all together would build a pretty compelling case. That's all I'm saying.
40 homers, 50 stolen bases? Could he do it?
I also think that he's someone who's aware of like what his numbers are, and as he gets closer to the end of the season, understands what he might need to do to.
No, he definitely has a little bit of that Jordan in him. He mental Rolodex of everything that's happened, and he takes that personally sometimes.
As someone said a long time ago about him, he's got that MFer in him. They didn't spell out the first two letters, but you know.
Chris Fu Mutu Mafala.
Remember Chris Berman on NFL Primetime would always say he's a bad Mafala. Yeah.
Oh, well, I feel awful about what my last hot take is going to be, considering what we did.
Or should I have said José Ramírez is the best third baseman in the AL Central?
I feel so bad about it. Oh, and by the way, you mentioned the overlooked, underrated element that I think everyone's getting a little fatigued by, and yet I watched a TikTok video like a week ago where they were going through the projections for every position. They were trying to say, can you name who is the top-rated projection at every system in terms of WAR? They got all the way around the diamond. They go to third base. The dude named every third baseman in baseball that was not named José Ramírez. And then at the end they go, oh my God, I forgot José Ramírez. And in that moment I said, you know what? We're right back. We are right back to being the most underrated player in baseball. Well, my final hot take, I thought you were going to go this direction, so I'm a little bit surprised, and I'm glad that we end this way. The highest position player WAR will not belong to Jose on the Guardians. It'll belong to Steven Kwan.
What?
This is that one season where...
I've said this each of the last 3 years.
And this is why I'm going this direction, and you are not. Hopefully I'll have better luck with this.
The WAR draft should be fun.
This will be the one season where... I'm not saying like, oh, Jose's going to be like at 3.5 and Kwan's going to be way up. I think they'll be close. But I think the element of playing some center field here will help. He's a better offensive player than he was last year. All he's got to do is get back to being in that 120 to 130 WRC plus range. That is a lot of value you're creating. And on top of, if he plays, I don't know, half the time in center field, that's even more potential value that he's creating by playing center field. And so as long as he's not bad out there, and you want to run him out there in center field, and there's reasons to do it because it creates other spots in the lineup more easily. You can get other bats in there, especially as the year progresses and guys are determining. You know, we have an idea of what the lineup's going to look like today, but based on just how they play, there are going to be other guys you want in the lineup, and it's going to be easier to do it when Kwan can go play center field. So I think with that, on top of the fact that there's a possibility here that he's going to come back down a little bit as he gets a little bit older, even if it's not going to into bad territory, but I could see a scenario where he's not as good as he's been in the past, but still good. This could be the year where Steven Kwan, he's getting some down ballot MVP love based on the season he had. And all he's just got to be the offensive player we've seen in the past, be on the field a little bit more. That was a problem the year where he was spectacular offensively, but he missed some time, and he'd showcase some power, steal some bags, bring a little bit of that power, be that 125 to 130 WRC plus guy, go play a strong, or just solid center field, create some value. This could be the year. Steven Kwan, the highest WAR total comes from him, not Jose Ramírez. Remember the last time this happened where Jose wasn't the top Fangraphs WAR? What's your guess?
2019?
It was actually more recent than that in terms of Fangraphs WAR. It was 6.1 to 6.0. Yeah.
22?
Andrés Giménez.
Well, that earned Giménez a long-term extension. Would it do the same for Kwan? Yeah, I mentioned it earlier. I think one of my hot takes was last year was that Steven Kwan finishes top 7 in MVP voting. And it's for the reasons you just said. He's, especially this year, as long as he's competent in center field, provided that's where he ends up playing. He would get a boost in WAR for that. That's a premium position. He steals some bases. He doesn't strike out. He draws walks. That boosts your on-base percentage. Like, there's a high floor here. It is just, it's not wearing down in the second half, and he spoke about that this spring, saying he's been fatigued during seasons and he needs to find ways to counteract that. And just being a more consistent hitter, which it's in there. So I'm with you. I just didn't want to, if I come on here and spout that same rhetoric again, then people are going to think I'm on the guy's payroll.
You're just running it back.
Yeah. I don't think that's crazy.
I mean, for some additional context, his first year in the big leagues, 4.7 was the WAR there. 4.2 was the year where he was even better offensively, 131 WRC plus in 2024, and that came in 122 games. 147 was the rookie year. So if we take just the additional plate appearances that he gained in 2022, I think there's more than just a half of a WAR just based on that.
And find me a hitter who ABS is going to help more.
Yeah, so I think he's, if nothing changes and he's just the best version of his offensive self and stays on the field, 5 WARs already within reach there. So could he get another extra, get some better luck? Could he get the bump from playing center field? So I think six WARs within reach in that scenario where all of that plays out.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's just tough because his teammate's going to have 7.5.
And win MVP.
Yeah, so that, this happens every year because no one wants to come on here and have a hot take of, this guy is going to get DFA'd by May. So then we end up, in your scenario here, you've got MVP candidate leading off, really good rookie hitting second, MVP candidate hitting third, Manzardo fourth, the best rookie fifth, the best catcher in the AL Central sixth, and also a top 5 pitching staff. How many wins?
Spice level. Take us out with the spice level.
That should have been your hottest take, as they win 110 games.
Sign a waiver.
Just sounds like Szechuan lemon pepper dry rub to me.